And it would appear that the live stream is up and running.
Thank you. Thank you, Dara. I note there was a deputation, Dara, but I think it was a written one. Do we have
That's
to
correct.
do we receive that somewhere along the way or no?
I think we can note early in the meeting, we
Okay.
can note at this time that we have received a written deputation from a member of the public. We will, following the conclusion of the meeting, post it to the TCHC website along with the meeting materials.
Great, thank you very much. Are we ready to roll, or how do we do this?
I'm just looking at squares to see that we have quorum, and it looks like we're still down by a couple.
Okay.
Dara, the deputation was sent out by Sonia.
It was.
Thanks.
We have everybody now, do we, Dara?
We're missing Councillor Nunziata, but we have quorum.
Oh, she's right there on my, oh, her chair.
Oh, she's not back yet.
Okay. Are you going to run through the appointment of chair of
I will.
Chair and all of that? Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we should get underway. And then Councillor Nunziata
Okay.
come back in.
So, as the committee members are aware, in March of this year, the Tenant Services Committee approved the establishment of this subcommittee, which will report to TSC, the Tenant Services Committee. Members of the who indicated an interest in being on the committee have gathered together today. But one of the things that needs to happen in order for us to move forward with today's agenda is for the committee to appoint a chair. Is there somebody who's willing to move appointment of a member of the committee to serve as committee chair?
I move the motion to appoint Councillor Paula Fletcher as committee chair.
I second that.
I have a motion that I would share with committee members that the committee's appointment would be subject to the board's approval because the procedural the board's bylaw provides the board is responsible for approving the chair, but the way we've drafted it is that the committee would approve the appointment and recommend that the board approve the appointment of Councillor Fletcher as chair for this subcommittee.
Good.
Okay. All those in favor? Thank you.
You
Over to you,
almost
Councillor
forgot
Fletcher.
that part, Dara.
Yeah.
You almost forgot that. Great job. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your support. This is the first meeting of our Community Safety Advisory Subcommittee. I'm very pleased. We have a lot of fantastic staff from TCHC here. And as well, we have some of our colleagues from the City of Toronto. From the SafeTO, we have Scott McKean and Mo Charrier from the city's staff committee on policing. So we're very welcome to have this committee meeting. This is set up as an advisory committee or a subcommittee for Tenant Services Committee, which of course reports to the board, because we want to explore any and all ways in order to reduce violence in TCHC communities. So it's a very noble goal, and we're going to work very hard, and we're going to have a lot of assistance from staff and from city staff, TCHC staff. We're going to do very good work here. I'll note there was a deputation that was written, and we'll simply note that it will be posted on the board's website after this meeting when that concludes. But I will note that we're meeting on the traditional lands of many nations, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, Mississaugas of the Credit, and we are on the land of Dish with One Spoon. And thank everybody for all the work they do every day at Toronto Community Housing, and for all the tremendous work that's being done under COVID and very difficult circumstances. And of course, we're still meeting virtually, so it's very hard to do. So thank you for your patience and keeping things moving along during the pandemic and keeping our meetings working well with all the information that we need. So we're very thankful for that. We have a consent agenda. We have the agenda in front of you, members of the subcommittee, and I would ask you to approve that agenda here today that you see, which is there you go. Approval of the meeting, conflict of interest, business arising, and then the committee charter and work plan as number 5. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda? Can't see you, but I'm going to say, I saw Debbie's hand in favor. Moved by Debbie, all in favor. It's approved, thank you. I don't know if we want to, we've done the chair, and now I have to ask if anybody has a conflict of interest, if any of the board members need to declare a conflict of interest with any part of this agenda. Seeing none, thank you. There was no conflict declared. We have business arising from the public meeting, and then we have the work plan and charter. And I'll just ask you if you want to keep them in that order. I should have asked that earlier. Or did you want to flip them and talk about the charter and then go back to look at the other items? Let you think about that for a second.
I would suggest that we do that, Madam Chair, so that we can be more efficient looking at the business arising if we have passed our mandate.
So you think you'd like to go to item number 5, reorder the agenda, deal with item number 5 first? I didn't quite hear you, Debbie. I'm sorry.
Yes, let's confirm our committee charter.
Okay, that would be good. So Dara, do we have to move to flip those around, or we can just flip them? You're on mute, Dara. I've always wanted to say that to you. Now I did get a chance.
I thought you wanted to put me on mute.
No.
If we can just note a mover for the minutes, somebody to move the
Okay.
motion.
I'll move that we move number 5 to number 4.
Oh, a mover for the minutes. That was you, Debbie. You're moving the minutes. All in favor of the minute. Oh, that's business arising out of the minutes?
Just to flip the agenda. Yeah.
So
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Douglas. And
All
so
right,
we'll
moving
move to
the
item
5
number 5.
to, okay. So we'll start with item number 5, and then we'll go back to item number 4. And that is the charter. So here you have that in front of you. Thank you, Dara. looking at Community Safety Unit CSU overview, integration of confronting anti-Black racism, overview of community safety and support pillar, tenancy management, managing difficult tenancies, tenancy support, categorization of TCHC communities, tenant impact and CSU involvement, tenant engagement models for the subcommittee hub model, and any recommendations to TCHC. So those really were pulled out from item number, attachment number 1 as deliverables. No, attachment 2. Okay, Derek, can you just lead us through here, please, and put them up so we can walk through? Thank you.
So Sheila, did you want to speak to this matter?
Or Sheila, that would be great.
I mean, I can start off. I think that the approach that's been taken. Sorry, Sheila, are you on mute?
I was on mute.
Sorry.
Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, Madam Chair, what's in front of you is the Community Safety Subcommittee Charter, which is the attachment number 1, really speaks to the workings of the committee, which we will need to walk through. What we provided in the cover report for a list of special agenda items for consideration of the committee that would form the meat of what it is the committee is considering. So we've drafted a list of items that were topics that have been of significant interest at the Tenant Services Committee. They're there in front of you, Madam Chair, to alter, add to, but it's our intention that these special agenda items, that staff would work together with our counterparts in the city and bring forward information on each of these agenda items, and that would form the work plan of the committee. So if I could, I think we need discussion on those special agenda items. We also need to approve the charter, attachment 1, which sets out the workings of the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. So shall we start then with the items, the special agenda items?
Yeah.
That can include but not be limited to, and see if there's anything there that anyone else thinks needs to go in there. Can I just ask where we would look at data collection or bringing data together? I think it would be helpful to have that very specifically identified.
Yeah. So we just had a discussion on categorization of TCH communities. So that topic would cover off data points.
I'm not sure that data points aren't connected to many of the other ones. So embed,
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I can't see you. I find it really difficult to be talking to a screen without people there.
Yeah. See me?
I agree that they're all there, but perhaps we need to just embed that data piece as a foundational piece. Not aspirational pieces, but data piece.
Yeah.
So that the considerations of the committee are data-driven.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, as a principle.
As a principle, as well as the collection and reporting out of disaggregated demographic data.
Okay, good. Good point.
Okay. Anybody else have an observation? Marcel, Francis, Uba? No? We're all good with that?
I
They
wanted
will
a
add those two pieces.
clarification and now I've missed it. I think it talks about CSU tenant impact and CSU involvement. My screen closed and it's not on the screen. I think it's in the middle of the list. What does that mean?
Yeah, it is.
So it means what impact, and we learned a lot about this through the outreach that we did on CABR, on our Confronting Anti-Black Racism strategy, when we were connecting with tenants around, Black tenants around the impact that CSU has in their communities. So we would want to ensure that that voice is heard.
Very good. Can I suggest then, I assume that's what it meant. Can I suggest that we reword it so it's saying exactly what you just explained, so that we talk about CSU involvement in communities and the impact on tenants?
Perfect. Good edit.
Thank you.
Okay,
This is good, Sheila. Thank you.
that is, Sheila, can you take us through the next piece then, please?
Okay, so that's our list of special agenda items. We would bring back consolidated reports on each of these items for the consideration of the committee. We'd consult with our colleagues, our city colleagues, to make sure that they had an opportunity to feed into relevant items. Did the committee, do you want to give us an idea of priority sequence, or do you want us to come back with a sequence? We're in the hands of the committee.
If I can, I feel that, as we said earlier, just the categorization of the communities and then other things that flow from there, the community safety model in each of those communities, if they're high, if they're a community experiencing a high level of violence, or a community experiencing very little or nothing, just totally stable community. So I think perhaps we should have some groupings. Tenancy management fits under that categorization. The tenant engagement fits under that. CSU fits under that. The data piece fits under that. So I think that I'm interested in what everybody else thinks, but I don't think this is lateral. I think there's some buckets here.
Yeah. I would agree.
Does anybody have anything else to add or change, consider?
Question.
Yes, Francis.
Sheila, the project Engage, where Toronto Community Housing is, where you're building a partnership with the police services, is that going to be part of a report coming forward as well?
I think that's an excellent question, and I think we could report out on partnerships that we have, that we are currently engaged in with the city, with TPS, on community safety. We could bring that to committee.
Okay, because
To
I
this
think
committee or to the other committee? Just thinking to this committee? Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's to this committee because there's a lot of work that's being done in partnership in our Toronto housing buildings, that Sheila, and I know that they're working with you, and it's been a very positive relationship with tenants in our building. So I think it's important to bring some of the the progress on what they've been doing. And as you know, it's a pilot in the northwest corner of the city.
Yeah.
I will say that the northwest corner of the city, I'm sure, will be featuring very spectacularly in all of our work due to the fact that it is a troubled area, and that I'm going to just insist that we work from the categories that once we've identified, because we're looking at what works, what's effective. We're using data, and just having a lot of great information that isn't focused on an end goal, which is what works best. What are all the ingredients to contain situations? What works? And then what else works in order to have a healthy community? And that's part of SafeTO. So I think that's great. If that's part of the Northwest, then how is that working? But I do think we do need some data. And you
Yeah,
need
no,
data too. Management needs data to put that data together in that way. I think it'll be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. So I think from that list, Sheila, number one is to really understand what's going on out
Yeah.
there, and then all the many different ways of approaching it, such as Francis has just talked about. What's the CSU approach? What's the TPS on the ground approach? What's the city's approach? What's other tenant services that are underway? If we can do that, then I think that will be more helpful, more focus. But if the
Taking
committee
note.
doesn't agree, then we agreed on that?
Yes, we
Members?
are.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, we're really looking at everything that's working and other things that aren't, and how to build in some of the things that are
Working.
working very well, and recognize that we may be rowing as fast as we can using other things, and they might not be as effective. So effective tools are
Yeah.
the goal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sheila, can you take us through the next piece that we need to work on?
Sure. So attachment 1 outlines the group charter. Someone will put it up. The mandate is fairly straightforward. The subcommittee is established as a subcommittee of the Tenant Services Committee, which is a committee of the board to assist the board and the Tenant Services Committee in fulfilling its responsibilities in respect of community safety and security at TCHC. Happy to take any feedback on mandate.
Good. My sense is that the mandate, the language is broad enough to include all of the various pieces we've been talking about. Was my take on it.
Okay.
Now, we do have the vice chair of the committee on here,
Yeah.
because Uba, you are the vice chair, right, of tenant services. So it does
Yeah.
say that the chair will be an ex officio member, voting ex officio member. Is that by design or required, Dara, that it's the chair, or could that be the vice chair because she's here?
So that's a reference actually to the board chair, who is an ex officio
Oh, the
member and a
board
voting member
chair.
of all
Okay.
committees.
Committees. Yeah.
But it says the chair of the TSC shall be a voting ex officio member.
I think
Doesn't say the chair of the board.
it's intended to be the chair of the board.
Okay, fine. Then I understand it. If that's the chair of the board, that's good. Got it.
So mandate,
Yep.
The responsibilities, you fulfill the mandate to carry out these responsibilities. Recommendations to the Tenant Services Committee on the design, implementation, reporting of policies, strategies, initiatives by management on security, cameras, crime, and reporting. The advice and recommendations to TSC on the design, implementation, reporting of policies, strategies, initiatives by management on community safety and the community safety unit. Folks okay with that?
Mhm.
Shall we just, we've got the mandate, the responsibilities, shall we just approve that? Any changes, or we can just move to approve that responsibilities? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Sheila, why don't we go like this? By the next one, the authority. We'll just run through them like that and
Okay.
knock them
So-
off one by one.
Your authority comes through the Tenant Services Committee with respect to matters that fall within the Tenant Services Committee's charter for review and approval by TSC, forward onto the board as deemed necessary by the Tenant Services Committee. That the subcommittee will have, I love this one, full, free, and unrestricted to management and its employees. You may choose to retain the services of external advisors at the expense of the company as deemed necessary to ensure due diligence in accordance with our procurement policies and procedures.
Good.
Good with that?
Everybody okay with that? Did you want me to make, amend that number 2 about the unrestricted access for you?
No, we want unrestricted access.
Love that one.
Can I just ask a question? Yeah, the question around the external advisors. Is that for advice or for research or for other things? Can you just define that a little bit? So, you know, we might want to look at some best practices in other places once we have our data and
Yeah.
then find out how they're doing things. And
Yeah.
I don't know where they do a great job, but somebody's going to know where we do a great job at many things, but how we're going to be able to get some of that info. Would that be covered under that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's there, right? That the committee you may retain gives you the ability to retain external advisors if you deem necessary.
Yeah, that's our Reddit or resource people or for information, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's great. All right. Those are the 3 items under authority. Anybody have anything to add, or we'll just approve those 3 things? Motion to approve. Thank you. Marcel, everybody is approving that. Thank you. That's good. Good go.
Term and
Terms and deliverables.
So the term is time limited. It is not intended to be a permanent subcommittee. That the subcommittee will undertake research, review, tenant consultation on matters outlined in the charter, deliver recommendations to tenant services for their consideration to be forwarded to the board as deemed appropriate by tenant services.
Thank you. Everybody approve that? Any objections to that? No? Okay, that sounds good. Next up.
Composition will be informed by the following. We have a chair. Dara just clarified that the chair of the board shall be a voting ex officio member of committee, that the president and CEO will appoint a staff liaison to support the chair. So our incoming president and CEO will appoint a staff liaison, a staff person to reside as corporate secretary. The committee composed of a minimum of 3 directors, which we have in the current, a minimum of 3 directors, which we have in the current membership. And the subcommittee will be supported by staff from TCH, City of Toronto, expertise, accountability for community safety, security, development, partnership development, stakeholder relations, as stated by the president and CEO. And I think you'll see, based on the staff in attendance at today's subcommittee meeting, that your internal expertise along with expertise from the city is here to support your work.
Great. Thank you very much. Anything to add or question around the composition? No, then we'll take that as, we'll approve that. We'll vote on the whole thing later, but we'll approve that with the change in the chair of the board being ex officio that Sheila has pointed out.
The term
Sheila.
determine quorum minimum of 50% of the directors. Decisions shall be taken by motion, simple majority, and written resolution in lieu of meeting will need to be signed, or if a written resolution in lieu of meeting signed by all members of the CSAC is permitted.
Can you explain what that means? Someone,
So from time to time, and it hasn't happened at one of our advisory committees, but at time to time, there's a matter that requires approval where we dealt with it early in COVID. We weren't clear on our ability to have meetings, but matters needed approval. And so we circulate a written resolution for all members of the board or committee to sign, indicating their approval in lieu of a meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. Okay.
and the process
Got
works
it.
well.
So for quorum, any questions? If not, that's
We
pretty
need to
standard.
we need to determine term of the committee.
That honestly would be, I don't
We
know,
need
it says to be determined, but
Determined.
it's not a permanent committee.
Won't the work plan inform the term of the
Yes.
committee work plan and the outcome of the work?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
going to have a time limited because 2 members of the committee will, I don't know when everybody's term is finished, but Councilor Nunziata and myself, we have a term at the end of October 2022. So
Yeah,
I think we should have a look and then come back to be determined once the work plan has been established, perhaps put it like that.
Okay.
Understanding that there could be changes
yeah.
based on who's on the board, but to the
That's
committee,
right.
to the committee composition.
Did we
Committee,
already have language that the committee terms will be reviewed on an annual basis? I thought I read that somewhere.
Sarah?
I don't believe that's part of the charter document that we've got now, or in the cover report. I don't recall seeing that.
Okay, must be a different committee.
You may be thinking about the provision in the charter that indicates the charter would be reviewed on an annual basis.
Ah, yes, yes.
So could we just change that term then to be determined once the work plan has been fully established?
Yes.
That works for everybody.
Yeah.
Any objections to that? No? Okay. That's good. Quorum's good. The meetings, here we go.
So the CSAC will meet as frequently as it determines necessary, not less than once each quarter. Meetings may be called by the chair of TSC or the chair of CSAC. The chair of CSAC must call a meeting when requested to do so by any member of CSAC, the Tenant Services Committee, the President and Chief Executive Officer, or the General Counsel and Corporate Secretariat. The procedure at meetings shall be determined by the CSAC chair, adhering to the bylaws of the corporation or any resolution of the board.
Can I just have a clarification there, please? Is that by any, are those things all together or are they disaggregated? When requested by any member of CSAC or the tenant services or the president, or is it and all of those people at once? So any member of CSAC can generate a meeting, or the tenant services committee can generate a meeting, the president and CEO can generate a meeting, Derek can generate a meeting. Is that what I'm reading?
That's how I read it.
And that's how I read it as well. The language is actually drawn heavily, the language in this document is drawn heavily from the Tenant Service Committee charter, and that's reflective of the current language in the Tenant Services Committee charter. But if that doesn't work for this committee, then in the same way that the committee has changed other provisions of the charter, it can consider whether it wants to change this.
What, it's not a board committee. That's the only thing, but it's fine. We'll just leave that. Don't think.
Yeah, I
anybody's
think it
gonna
works.
call- Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna be calling meetings just as.
I don't see
meetings.
us all jumping up and down to call extra meetings.
No.
You may have to watch Dara.
True.
Councillor
Okay.
Santana, I believe, has a question.
So as far
Go
as
ahead,
the
Francis.
meeting, can I ask what? As far as the meeting, so how are we going to be communicating out about this committee and let tenants know about this subcommittee?
So we will, as our normal practice, post our agenda, post the meeting materials. We're live streaming this meeting. So we are treating this as a subcommittee of a committee of the board in the normal manner in which we publicize those meetings.
Okay, so tenants then in various buildings will be aware of this committee if they need to bring anything forward or make a deputation, they would be allowed to do so. Am I correct?
That's correct, and we had a written submission from a tenant for this meeting that was distributed in advance of today's meeting.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that the communication gets out there to our tenants. Thank you.
That'll be great because then we can let them know about our thinking and we can hear
Mhm.
about issues, safety issues from them too. Not about real on the ground safety issues and how they're being managed. Good. Go ahead, Sheila. The public pieces here, do we need to read them or just accept them? I think they're from pretty
They're-
close to what's at our tenant services, right?
They are
Yeah.
drawn from the Tenant Services Committee Charter. Any questions on those items, A to H?
No, I think we'll just
It's good.
accept those as read. Thank you.
Okay. CSAC shall review its charter on an annual basis, recommend any changes to the TSC. Good with that?
That's the annual one that you saw, Debbie, already.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, reporting, CSAC report proceedings of each meeting and all recommendations made by CSAC to tenant services at TSC's next meeting. Make recommendations to the Tenant Service Committee as you deem appropriate. I think we covered that off.
So every time we have a meeting, then it will go to Tenant Services Committee as an
Right.
advisory.
Yeah.
And then, okay,
May I suggest that we then have CSAC as a standing agenda item on TSC?
We can do that, Derek?
Yes, we will. We'll list as a verbal update typically is how
Yes.
we deal with that at each tenant service committee by the committee chair.
Yes.
okay, that's great.
And accountability and reporting, last item, CSAC is accountable to the board through tenant services, and reporting on the ongoing work will be undertaken at each tenant services. So that's what we just covered off.
Good.
So with Madam Chair, that's your mandate or your charter.
Thank you. And thank you very much. Is the work plan considered part of that charter, Sheila or Dara, or should we go separately for that public work plan? Adopt
It's
the charter. Okay,
a separate
So-
document. We provide it both at the same time. The charter will require the approval of the Tenant Services Committee and the board as well, because the board approves all charters. The work plan is the work of this committee, and so that doesn't require either TSC or board approval.
perfect. So I'm just going to ask for a motion to approve the charter, please. Seeing that. Uba, motion from Uba, all in favor of approval, the one change we've made. Thank you. That passes. And then obviously that we've approved that, it's going to go to TSC and the board. And then for the work plan, that's up next. So it's pretty general headings, correct? Based on what we had a little discussion about earlier. Is that right?
Right. So we had a discussion on the special items. So our discussion on the special items and the sequencing that we talked about will inform the work plan. And what I'd like to suggest, let us put that together and send it out to committee members.
Okay,
That's great. That's perfect. So then I'll just ask for a motion to approve the work plan. It's very general. Everything, it's a big bucket. Everything's in there. Marcel, can you move that, please? Great. Thank you very much. All in favor, opposed, and that's carried. Thank you. That's done. Item number 5. We're legitimate now to send our charter up the line for further approval. So we'll just go back to item number 4, please. Business arising from the public meeting minutes and our action item list. It's on page 4 for anybody that's trying to find things. And there we are.
So the
All right,
first,
would you like to address these, Sheila? Is this a library? Do we have another library?
it is.
first item, the first, page 4, goes on
Yep.
to page 5. These are 3 items that will make up part of the library that were approved or that were tabled at the Tenant Services Committee in July. So these will make up part of the library because they were part of the Tenant Services Committee in July.
So
So
that
again-
still is going to the board though, aren't they?
I don't, I don't believe these were items that were presented for information. So I don't believe they're going to the board on Thursday.
Okay,
Correct.
they're just,
I
okay,
believe that's correct.
But we'll add these to the library with the link so that if people want to go back to them, we can.
that's great, thank you. And then on the second list, starting on page 6, the library list, starting from 2017, correct?
Correct.
Do
So
you want to
again,
walk us through those, or do people, how would the board, how would our committee like to deal with that? Sheila, walk us through, or go ahead, go for it, Sheila.
again, it's a list of reports as we know. The board Tenant Services Committee has been pleased with understanding how to improve safety and security in our communities. What we've assembled for you under item 4 to inform the ongoing work of the subcommittee are past community safety and support items that have been tabled through Tenant Services to the board. And so again, it's here for information. We may want to call on some of these reports as we go through our work.
See, we have the deployment plans in 2017, quite a bit of that.
Did you want to go through each one?
There's a lot. I'll
Yeah.
take the will of the
Just take it
board.
as read, yeah.
Okay,
Um, I-
I would agree.
Yeah, one clarification, and I guess I'm repeating again, just because it says closed does not mean that that topic may not come up. I did have a question about that first piece, though, about the cameras. I know we've had conversations, and I know the written deputation we just received references it. Have we continued the conversation at all about ensuring that cameras are on every floor in every building that's designated as high level violence, or will that, I guess that will be part of the report when you come back with all the various communities and levels of violence and approaches?
Right. I believe to date, and you know, I could be off by a few thousand, but we have some 13,000 cameras across the portfolio. And we have, where they are located is as a result of input from community, from our community safety unit. Typically, if cameras are added, there is a walk around with CSU, with TPS, with tenants to indicate where additional cameras are needed. That's something that happens on a regular basis, but we continue to add cameras where needed. Not every building, every floor has cameras, but buildings that need cameras on every floor supported by tenants and our community safety walks have them.
Okay, so that will be part of information you bring back when you talk about the various approaches.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask if any of the other members, Uba, Francis, Marcel, anything on any of these items? Marcel, yeah? You're on mute, Marcel.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm getting all confused. I got a tablet here, phone there, and this here.
I know.
I don't know if I'm going to touch something and it's just going to explode. But the thing is, like, with the cameras and stuff, like, in the past, have you entertained the thought of actually having some cameras pointing in from the street instead of? I find like everything's pointing out. Right? Maybe you thought about maybe putting some cameras that face inward? Because the reason why I say that is that sometimes, like, people are pretty smart, especially if they don't want to kind of be seen doing something, and they leave, and if they jump into a car or whatever, the cameras going out may not catch anything, but the cameras pointing in might.
Right.
Like from across the street. I just wondered if that was ever entertained.
So I'm going to ask Al Britton to comment, but I do believe that that is a consideration that when they do those safety walks and they look for where the cameras are required, that is a consideration. But Al, I'll ask you to feed into that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good question because we're always trying to get the best angle because as you see, a lot of people are very strategic in the way they get away from crime scenes. So what we consider is the factors of what would capture the most information, but also adhering to the privacy restrictions that we're bound by. Can't have cameras facing into units. We can't have cameras facing where it takes away the privacy of any individual. So we do have to balance that, but there are some cameras that are facing on different angles. And again, as Sheila pointed out, they're part of the community safety walk. What's the most appropriate angle to catch the most valuable information?
Thank you. Marcel, any
Yeah,
follow-ups
that's good.
there?
Yeah, I don't mean like to have it like pointing at someone's unit or anything, but I'm talking about the entrances of the actual properties. Like say over here, there's Shaw and Witchcrest. So if there was a camera on Shaw that would be pointing this way, that would be catching the traffic and stuff coming through. Whereas the cameras here they face out. That's it.
Yeah, and that's one we could review because quite honestly, it is something we do review in each community safety walk and ultimately each community safety audit that's performed. In that particular instance, maybe they could be repositioned, and it's something we definitely would look at. But it is something we do try to consider at each of the audits we do.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on any of that? No? Seeing nobody with their hand up. That's great. This is great. Dara, is there anything else for our agenda?
Only a motion to receive that information and then motion to, absent any other business, a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to receive the library and the Act Business Arising? I'm going to ask Marcel. Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Is there any other business anybody wants to table here? Okay. No, we're good. We've had a great discussion. Thank you so much for providing all these materials. You spent a lot of time, Sheila, and your team to get them all pulled together. I think it's very comprehensive. It's going to form a great foundation for our work on all of our quest to find the magic key to making communities safer, because that is what we're all totally and 100% wanting to do. That's our mandate, our goal, our mission, our quest. Aspirational and real. Very good. Okay. If that's it, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. I think I saw your hand, Francis. Motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you very much, and see you at the board meeting. Thanks so much.
Thank
everybody.
you.